Okay, so here's our boards that we're using, standing out in front of the White House, showing all the information and evidence that we have, and trying to explain it as best as we can. There's a lot of stuff going on in our case that does not make sense. A lot of fraud, a lot of corruption. So to go over everything is just very difficult to do. And then there's a lot of things that are filed in the court, whereas you know, I can't really show you all that paperwork, all the case law and everything that we've filed. You know, Alabama case law, Supreme case law, constitutional rights that shows that they are violating us in every way. So I'm just going to kind of get down to it and do the best I can here, just to explain, so that way everybody can see what's going on. And first I'll let's see here. I'll go through the boards. This is the board of hashtag FREEBABYHOLM, and that's our son that was kidnapped by the state of Alabama. Whenever when they came into the hospital room, social worker of Cleburne County DHR, Stacy Jackson, came into our room and started asking us questions. And I asked Stacy, and said, you know, instead of answering a whole bunch of questions, I was just trying to make it real simple and be in compliance, so that way there wasn't any problems. I said, what is the most simplest way that we can live close to nature without violating our you know, religious rights? She said, I've never been asked that before, Mr. Holm. I'll have to go and call my supervisor, and then I'll get back with you. Well, 30 minutes later, she never returns to our room and answering my question, which all this has come out on testimony. And but she comes back in 30 minutes later. She comes in with a security guard, two or three officers I think, and then a children's crimes investigator, which her name is Rachel Israel of Cleburne County Children's Crimes Investigation. So Stacy Jackson comes in with them. She also has an intern with her, and the police officers, as I'm laying down, I had to get up and put my clothes on because I had my shorts. You know, we were laying down resting, and my wife was feeding our baby. Well, they came into the room and bombarded into our room uninvited, no warrant, nothing, no pickup order, no petition, nothing. So pretty much she brought armed men into our room, and even though they're wearing badges, you know, you're supposed to have a warrant. We're supposed to have laws in this country. You're supposed to have a certain way of doing things. Otherwise, how do you tell the criminals from the non-criminals in a systematic process like this? So they tell me to come out of the room, and they hold me hostage in another room, and they pretty much, I don't see the rest of it. I hear it. I hear my wife screaming, I've done nothing wrong, I've done nothing wrong, why are y'all doing this? And then I hear my baby being, you know, crying, being taken down the hallway. And I have two police officers in front of me that I'm trying to speak to, you know, speaking love and things like that, and trying to find out what's going on, and just trying to, you know, speak to them, relate with them as best as I can as brothers. Well, they're standing in front of me, and as soon as I hear my baby crying and my wife crying, you know, it was the second time I heard my baby cry. The first time I heard him cry was whenever he was born, and then Danielle was so attentive with him that he didn't cry again. She was feeding him. Whenever he needed his diaper changed, I changed his diaper. So she would feed him, I would feed her, then I would feed me. I mean, everything was great, you know. It was part of life. Everything was good. Give life with the Creator. One of the most valuable things and beautiful things in life. But that was violently ripped away from us. So as I heard my baby cry for the second time being taken down the hallway, my heart fell out, and I'm looking down on the ground, and the officers, they become very uncomfortable and walking back and forth, and I could tell that you know, that they could feel my pain. So the reason why they came in that night, from what we were told by Stacy Jackson, which I have audio of this that I put out on hashtag FREEBABYHOLM group and Facebook, she says that we have odd beliefs, and they can't match our names or identify us. They claim for us to be these two other individuals that has a similar last name to, or the male has a similar last name to me. But ultimately the first name is different, and they had charges of human trafficking and drug smuggling, which is ironic because look at what we're dealing with here. So I gave them 3 forms of identification. That was not good enough. I gave them the identification that you're supposed to have in this system, you know, a license, federal ID, and just other IDs, and it was not good enough. So did my wife, but that was not good enough because they came in there on a mission to kidnap our baby, to steal our baby. They were on a mission. Like I said, I asked the social worker a question, and she couldn't even come back and answer it because she was on a mission. So her supervisor, Leslie Jackson, ordered the hit, and there was no way for them to answer the question that I asked them, because that would mean that they would have to comply with me and not take our baby that night. But they couldn't do that because they were there on a mission to steal our baby, and I'll show you the rest of that in just a minute. Let's see here. Where was I at? So they take our baby, and then after they take our baby, this is no warrant, no probable cause, no emergency, no petition, no pickup order, none of that. And this is what Stacy Jackson leaves, torn off piece of paper with her handwriting, and she crosses out her name down on the bottom. But this is the information for the courthouse, and so and this is the baby's identification sheet with, as you can see, his footprints and my wife's fingerprint, and it says her name at the top, and her information. Well, this is an official document from the hospital records, an official document, and it says, I certify, let's see here, I certify that during the discharge procedure I received my baby, examined it, and determined that it was mine. I checked the ident band part sealed on the baby and on me, and found that they were identically numbered 09718 and contained correct identifying information, which means that you check your armband and make sure that it matches your baby's footband or armband. I think it was on his foot, I'm not real sure, I forget. I have one on my arm too. To make sure that it's correct, and then they release your baby to you. Well, that's not my wife's signature. That signature right there is Alex Martin. She's a social worker that we had never even met. We meet her after court. I'll get there later. But she signs her name right there next to the X. X marks the spot, huh? And it says signature of mother. All right. Well, Alex Martin is not my wife. She's not my love. I did not have a baby boy with her. So she signs her name right there, and so does Sheila M. Kane, which is the RN of RMC Hospital in Anniston, Alabama. So she verifies that. She certifies that as well. This is fraud. This is absolutely fraud in every way possible. You have feet print, you have a fingerprint, you have a name, you have official lettering at the top. Northeast Alabama Regional Medical Center, newborn identification sheet. All right, this is serious. This is serious. And anytime anybody's getting arrested anywhere, whether it be at a hospital or any type of organization, the facility or owner of that place only needs a warrant that is given to them by the officer. They need nothing else. The officer does not have to sign anything with a warrant. They did not have a warrant. So they falsely signed right here, and they kidnapped our baby. And this is the document that proves it. They kidnapped our baby. Now this is the this is the false petition, where it says the father, Chehaw State Park, mother, Danielle Holm, Chehaw State Park. Well, that is not our address. We do not live there. We were only camping there. We do not live there. Also, the entire petition is false. They had no actual factual evidence of any of this, and they never had. And if you'll also notice that Stacy Jackson was the intake officer, this is signed and admitted by Carrie Pollard, another social worker from DHR Cleburne County in Alabama. We never met Carrie Pollard. We never met Carrie Pollard. So Carrie Pollard goes into the courthouse and files this false petition, which is fraud, where she goes in and then she opens up a case on us. She puts in a false affidavit. She puts her name down there and it's not notarized. And within the court system, you know, if you're going to use the court system and if you're an employee of the state, you must sign under the penalties of perjury. There must be some form of redress, some way for you to be held accountable if you're going to be going into people's families and doing the things that you're doing. I mean, this is serious stuff here. You know, to invade people's families, we better have some serious measures put in place. Well, no notary, nothing. So what that means is that she can file this into court and open up a case or whatever, and then say, well, I didn't do that, I didn't sign that, or I don't know what that was on there, or whatever. And I suspect they do that because they know they're breaking the law. They know they're breaking the law, so they try and open up a case like this falsely. And then once they get the parents under duress, then they come back later, and then they put in an affidavit, but this is still false. Even though it's filled out correctly now, but it's after the fact. So that doesn't make it right. You're still breaking procedures and law. You're being deceptive. That doesn't make it right. So you'll see now Carrie Pollard, Stacy Jackson, which is the initial intake officer, and now it's notarized. So you can see what's going on here. You see what they're doing. I mean, the evidence speaks for itself here. And so now we got a pickup order. This is the pickup order from Cleburne County Circuit Court of Alabama, Warren Sorrell III, clerk. And it was filed, it's stamped up here at 5/24 is whenever it showed electronically or in the system here. So it says the child has no parent or legal guardian, legal custodian, or other suitable person able to provide supervision and care for the child. Well, that's a bold-faced lie. We were there, we were loving our child, everything was great, everything was wonderful until these people invaded our life. And it says for dependency cases only, continuing placement of the above-named child in his or her home would be contrary to the welfare of the child, that the child does not have a parent to care for him and provide for his adequate needs. We had everything was fine, everything was wonderful, and he had all of his needs met, and we've had all of our needs met since we've been going through this. We've had shelter over our heads since day one. These people they didn't know what we had and what was going on, and it's a part of life for people to come together and help one another. Now, if you'll notice, I mean, that's what love is. That's the way I look at love. I help as many people as I can. So if you'll look down here at the bottom, this is for officer authorized person. It means whenever they take a child, they're supposed to fill this out. Well, nobody filled it out. And that's because there wasn't one there at the hospital at the time whenever they stole our child. If you'll also notice, it says 5:20 p.m. It's a little bit blurry on this phone, but it says 5:20 p.m. on 10/11/2016, and let's see here. Look at the if you'll look at the signature and where it's the writing down at the bottom. Just keep that in your mind for a second. I'm going to show you the other petition or the other pickup order over here. Now this pickup order comes from it comes out of the medical records that just all of a sudden ended up in the medical records 2 months later. See, we had gotten medical records earlier, and there was no pickup orders or nothing in it. And then we got some more 2 months later, and all of a sudden these show up in there. How about that? But if you'll notice, these are supposed to be originals. There's no stamp up at the top or anything. And right here where it was said 5:20 p.m. on the other one, see over here? Let's see if I can get it. Where's it at? There you go, 5:20 p.m. and then look at the signature. All right, there's no 5:20 p.m. and this signature. How about that? It is an exact match. Exact match. I can't sign the same every single time. This is a stamp. This is not a handwritten signature. Whenever I put these documents back to back in the light or with a light behind them, they are exact to the T. There's no flinch in it whatsoever. It's a stamp. Nobody's even signing the pickup orders here, and this is supposed to be an original. Original supposed to be signed. You know, who's to be held accountable for this? So this is fraud. And then if you'll notice where it says Cleburne County Courthouse Room 207, see the Cleburne in the beginning, CLEB-CO. See how the CO is on the line? Now let's go over here. See how the CO is above the line? So somebody tried to make it identical, and then they stuck this pickup order into the hospital, trying to cover up for the hospital. You know, trying to so that way the hospital is not liable for anything. You know, they're all sticking in together here. You know, they all want to try and cover for each other. They're all part of this human trafficking together. This is sick. So now this right here, this is let's see, who is this? Okay, so this is Jennifer Wilkinson. Now I want to explain to you something. Is whenever they stole our baby, you know, we were under duress, but we were going to go into the courthouse and demand our child back because it was. They told us the reason for taking our child was because of mistaken identity, and they didn't know who we were. So we thought it was just going to be as simple as, all right, well, they messed up, and that was going to be it. But no, where we found out we were in a rude awakening. Well, this lawyer, Jennifer Argo, I'll get to her in a second. Jennifer Argo was appointed to our case. Well, we never even asked for her. We never asked for Jennifer Argo. When we went into the courthouse, we were bombarded by Jennifer Argo, just like the people that bombarded, the individuals that bombarded our room without no warrant and stole our baby. These people all act the same. They're all very robotic machine minds, and they all say that they all speak the same way and they all sound the same way, and they're all trained to speak the same way and say the same, or the same things. They're very calculative. And this is all, it just shows the premeditativeness of this, and how everything is so planned, and how they use the same people over and over to do this. It is a well-oiled machine. How they do this, how they violate people. Now, Jennifer Argo was the initial one that came in, and if you'll notice on here, somebody gave me these documents because I guess they wanted to help us. I'm not going to say a name because I appreciate people coming forward and helping us in the midst of all this corruption that we're dealing with here in the state of Alabama, Heflin, Alabama, judicial system here, and Anniston, Alabama, the city. Now, it says on here, original charge, JU felony, Class A. JUYO. Now, this is a payment sheet where Jennifer Argo gets paid $861 from the shelter care hearing, where she walked us into the noose and the jurisdiction of their county when we never even asked for her help. We didn't even go before the court, and the judge say to us, "Do you want to have an attorney?" We would have said no, but see, Jennifer Argo bombarded into us to say, hey, look, this is going on here, this is happening here, if you want your baby back, we got to do this, I'm going to help you, I'm going to get your baby back, we can do it. All that false hope stuff that they do, and they prey on your innocence. And if you, when you're under duress in a situation like this, I'm usually pretty quick, but I guess this is a lesson to be learned for me, and having to, it's not every day that your baby is stolen from you by officials that you think they're supposed to protect you. All right, well, here is this is the one for my wife. It says mother here, but if you'll notice on mine, it says petitioner, which is very odd or interesting because I didn't petition nothing. Carrie Pollard was a petitioner of this. So I'm not real sure what's going on here, what these people are up to, but they're definitely up to no good with all this paperwork and false instruments and things all over the place, false charges, all kind of stuff going on here. Then we have over here where they gave me a printout of their manifold on the computer, juvenile case maintenance screen, and as you can see, it says charge dependent abuse. Dependent abuse. And what is that? I don't know whether it says grant guilty or something. I'm not real sure what all this is, but charged dependent abuse neglect. So it says charge on here, and they're opening up cases falsely on fraud, false charges, if you will, even though they'll say that they didn't charge you or they're not charging you because you weren't arrested. But you know what? They open up a case with a charge. So to me, that's a false charge. You know, if you're going to open up something and put it into a database on open record with a charge on it, that's a charge to me. I don't care if you arrest or not. You're putting that on record. You're pressing it on the record. Which they probably do that because they try and set parents up, or they're just trying to find something somewhere because they're opening up cases fraudulently and unconstitutionally. So then we have police as witnesses, and they did not get to testify for us to verify a lot of this and a lot of the malicious intent of Cleveland County DHR. And these are some of our other posters and stuff that we're holding. Now I'll go over this real quick. I'm having to do this outside because we're up here in DC and protesting with all this and trying to get some attention from some people up here, because we've already exhausted all areas of you know, the state of Alabama. We sent out notices, and I'll get to the rest of it in just a minute. Now this is an order where it says, upon the petition filed by the Department of Human Resources, this matter is set for a shelter care hearing. The Honorable Jennifer Orgo is appointed as counsel for the parents in this matter. This appointment is for shelter care purposes only, however, may continue upon completion of an affidavit. Notice that word, affidavit. Everything has to be done on affidavits for it to be justified, of substantial hardship and submission of the same to the clerk of court for determination based on, all right, so allegations. So at first they're trying to say that my wife had some mental disorders, but I think what they do is it's all about divide and conquer. So they try and pin one parent against the other, all while you know, they're abusing them and they're abusing their children, and they try and use all that. And this is a really sick and perverted game that these people do. So let's see here. Now this right here is comes now. The undersigned and requests appointment of an alternate judge to preside in the above style cause in order to avoid any appearance of impropriety. The undersigned having recused in other matters involving the defendant, the clerk is hereby directed to forward a copy parties and attorneys of the record. Judge Melody Walker, District Judge. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me see here. What else was there? I thought there was some more here. Okay, so I had some other documents showing where the rest of the judges recused themselves, and so 4 judges ultimately recused themselves from our case, and then Bud Turner is one of them, Peggy Locker is one, and Brian Howell is another one, and it just kind of seems like Bud Turner is what you call like a hanging judge. He's the one where they bring in and is willing to do whatever, violate whoever, because he doesn't care if he gets any marks on his spirit or soul. You know, so because there's no other explanation for it unless you're trying to play God. And you know, with people's lives and certain things, trying to control or trying to control the law of God, God's natural law is what's going on here. All right, so this is the other billboard that I have, that we have, my wife and I, as we stand out here trying to make people aware of this. Child trafficking, color of law violations. Now, in the very beginning, this is the what we investigate, the FBI's website, civil rights violations. The FBI is the primary federal agency responsible for investigating allegations regarding violations of federal civil rights statutes, human trafficking, color of law violations. Some more of the human trafficking stuff down here. Let's see here. Excessive force, arrest, false arrest, false imprisonments, false arrest, and fabrication of evidence. Well, I just went over a lot of that, would you? Of evidence of that. Deprivation of property, the color of law statute would be violated by unlawfully obtaining or maintaining a person's property which oversteps or misapplies the official's authority. Well, that definitely happened. They came in and they, without a warrant, just had their way with us. Nothing to hold them back. They got a badge, so they get to do whatever they want to. In their mind, they have the that I call it the God mind syndrome, where they're in authority. They're in authority for so long, and we've created a system of statutes and policies that go against people's rights given by our Creator, which is recognized within the United States Constitution of America. Failure to keep from harm. Let's see here. So this is all came off of the FBI's website, and then it says to send in your information to them or file a complaint. Well, I did just that. I filed in a complaint to them, a criminal complaint, and this is just some of it, but it had all the Alabama offenses from everybody that was involved. And there's all the people up there at the top that are involved, but there's actually more than this involved that are coming about now. And we got a new judge that's involved, and another judge that's now involved. I'll get to that later about child support, that they're trying to extort money out of me now as they're holding our child hostage. So as you can see, there's Alabama statutes of what they're breaking their own laws. Let's see here, federal offenses. They're breaking federal offenses as well. Federal deprivation of rights, rights under color of law, conspiracy, because they're all acting together for profit, and breaking and illegal seizure and fraud. Fraud is just a major one here in this entire situation. It's all fraud for profit and financial gain. Yeah. So I filed this about 7 months ago with the FBI, and the first agent that we went to in Birmingham, Alabama, he agreed with us, and he said, yes, that I do feel that you have been violated. He called back about a couple days later, 2 days or 4 days later, and said that he filed everything in. I put this audio out on FREEBABYHOLM Facebook group as well, hashtag FREEBABYHOLM. And he said that he feels that it's color of law violations and religious violations. So we were glad to hear this. We felt like a little bit of hope was going on here, as far as some of our brothers and sisters that are within the system with us here, that have compassion and still believe in doing the right things. So at this moment, we feel a little bit of relief, but that was once again, that was torn away from us as well, and it did not last long. He told us that he had to transfer it over to another agent that was over Heflin, Alabama, and that agent said that we went in to meet with him, and he was younger than the other one. Not that that should really even matter, but the other guy was far more wise. He was a senior agent, the one that agreed. So once everything got transferred over, all of a sudden we just get thrown underneath the rug. I have no jurisdiction. There's nothing we can do. All this kind of stuff just keeps going on. That seems to be their favorite term to use, is I have no jurisdiction, which is it makes absolutely no sense. It's just they don't want to hold accountability where accountability needs to be held. Is all that's going on here, at the expense of our baby boy and our family. Maybe they'll start doing things now, though. Now that the more that we keep getting stuff out, then the more that people start standing up with us and saying, enough is enough. We must come together as brothers and sisters and put a stop to this. This is getting bad, and the more that we allow this to keep going further, the worse off it's going to be for everybody. after that, 4 judges recused themselves from our case. Nobody wants to handle our case, and we go in limbo for months. And then that's when Bud Turner comes back on. After he's the second judge that turned it over to someone else, and then he comes back on and says that he's going to take the case, and he just completely steamrolls us, violates us. The last hearing, he put an officer next to me and said for me to shut up, and that if I spoke that he was going to throw me in jail, and he told the officer that if I spoke to just throw me in jail. As he's sitting there putting in evidence of hearsay evidence, and we have the officers there willing to testify against the malicious intent of Leslie Smith and some other things. So I mean, that was a good day for them, right? We didn't have any officers to go put next to the judge. We didn't have any officers to go put next to the DHR, so that was probably a little bit one-sided. And I put that audio out as well for everybody to hear on FREEBABYHOLM on Facebook. There's so much audio. This is just paperwork. There's so much audio of these people, these officials, and so much corruption going on that it's ridiculous. And I can't believe, or it's just we've gotten to this place in time where selfishness and greed and things are outweighing the true values of life, and ultimately it's our environments that we're in that create this. We got so many statutes and policies in today's time compared to like 200 years ago. 200 years ago, law was pretty much based around property. Your land was your property, your farm animals was your property, yourself, your body was your property. Your time working or helping someone else was considered property. Your children were considered your property, because see, in the essence of property was just something that you had higher claim to than anybody else. And ultimately, we create our children. We create our children with the Creator. Nobody has a higher claim than that as a parent. Now, if there's some form of injury or doing harm to children, okay, then yeah, we need to move in and help one another and figure out why this is happening as a as a family, as a whole, as brothers and sisters, and ultimately it's our foundations. Our foundations are wrong, and we need to make change. We need to make change, but ultimately it needs to happen through enlightenment. It needs to happen by understanding, how did we get here? Why is this happening? Why have we gotten to a spot where statutes and policies are able to violate people and violate people's families unconstitutionally? Why have we built an entire court around family that is complete fraud? How have we gotten to this place? How has this even happened? These things are what need to be understood and figured out, and together as a whole. This is the this is the summons for child support. So not only do they steal our child, they steal our baby, and they're sucking money from the federal funds. They want to petition me, the father, into court for spousal support. Which my wife is right next to me in court where I'm asking all these questions. I put that out on audio as well. And this is just how, this is full on ridiculous. And if you'll notice, Peggy Locker, this is one of the judges that recused herself from the other case. Well, all of a sudden it's game on now on this one. And if you there's a lot of stuff going on here. First of all, the plaintiff is Cleburne County DHR versus Christian Holm, and it's just me by myself. That just goes to show discrimination on how they attack the males. But once again, this just proves it proves divide and conquer. That's what they do. This is what it's all based around, and that's how they function. It's a well-organized machine. They've been doing this for a long time, and so they name our boy Baby Boy Holm. All right, we haven't named our boy yet because we wanted to spend time with him and name him in our own manner, in our own fashion. Now this says the plaintiff is now receiving his Title IV, where they're getting funds from the government. They're sucking money out of the federal funds after they've kidnapped our baby, and then now they want to suck funds out of me to get some more. After they've kidnapped our baby. This is a whole nother evil. To do things like this is just a whole nother evil. And what this is coercion and conversion tactics. It's to try and make people submit into the systems under their authority, under their rule, and put you into fear, and so that they can control you and enslave you in what they want you to do. This is sick. This is not freedom. This is not free will. This is not of the Creator. I can tell you that. I know that. Now, Cleburne County DHR, the plaintiff, that's not even a person. That's not even a man or woman. Only a real man or woman can take somebody to court. Okay, this is a fictional character. Who's standing in for Cleburne County DHR? How does just some fiction bring somebody into court claiming something like this on them and demanding their life and their money? So that's fraud. This says the state of Alabama is filing for the plaintiff. Well, who's the plaintiff? Who is the plaintiff? There is no plaintiff, because there's a fictional character that's filing. The Cleburne State of Alabama. It's a fictional process here because it's all fraud. This is all a scam. Jason Odom of Anniston, Alabama. There you go. There's old Jason Odom. He's the attorney. He's filing frivolous claims, fraud. He's committing fraud for these people. He's in the act with them, and he probably does this so many times to people, and it's all a scam. It's just one big old scam, and they're all living, and sucking money out of people and out of the government and scamming. That's all they're doing. Fraud. And if you'll notice down here, it says, let's see here, it actually says spousal report. Where does it say that at? Okay. To require the spousal support payments be made payable to Alabama Child Support Center in P.O. Box. How about that? This is all while my spouse is sitting right next to me. And we're still married. And the state of Alabama, we're not married to the state of Alabama. And if they're trying to presume anything like that, we've never signed anything like that. That's fraud. And I even tell the judge that in open court. She's committing fraud. And that they've kidnapped our baby. I say that in open court as well. But they don't care. These people, they don't care. So here's some definitions I want to read to you, so that way people can get, you can understand the gist of this. Extortion. The practice of obtaining something, especially money, through force or threats. Well, we just went over that. That's extortion. These people are extorting money, extorting federal funds, and extorting funds from me, or trying to. And I'm sure they do this to many people, many fathers. Coercion. The practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Well, that's this entire case is force and threats. There's many other things to go over, but there's just so much stuff in our case that it's so obnoxious that if we were to go over all of it, it's just so obnoxious. I don't know what else to say. It's like dealing with children. I feel like I'm dealing with children, bad children. They're just acting out children. Conversion, the act or instance of converting, the process of being converted, or the process of being converted. Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to convert you into their will, their way, their policies. Kidnapping. Take someone away illegally by force, typically to obtain a ransom. Fourth Amendment search and seizure there. Well, they did that all illegally. They've kidnapped our baby and holding him and sucking federal funds and then trying to extort money out of me. That is kidnapping. And we have the document over there to prove where Alex Martin walked out with our baby for Cleburne County DHR. Yep. Y'all saw that. Hostage. A person seized or held as security for the fulfillment of a condition. Well, they're holding him right now, aren't they, while they're sucking in the federal funds? Okay, that's what that means. False imprisonment. False imprisonment occurs when a person is restricted in their personal movement within any area without justification or consent. They don't have any consent. He's not old enough to give them consent. You don't have to do actual physical restraint is not necessary. False imprisonment case. False imprisonment is a common law felony and a tort. It applies to private as well as governmental detention. When it comes to public police, the proving of false imprisonment is sufficient to obtain a writ of habeas corpus. Well, guess what? We filed in a habeas corpus as well to the federal courts, and they told us that it was a custody hearing. Well, there's no custody hearing because me and my wife are not in a divorce, and me and my wife we don't give any consent to the state. So it's a bold-faced lie. These people, like I said, it's a well-organized machine. They act like they care. They don't care. They'll say things like, "Oh, well, you know, I gave them enough of this," or I showed some mercy here, or whatever, when the entire thing is rigged. They just say that to please their own ego. They just say that to make themselves feel better about what they're doing. They're a bunch of liars. They're all liars. Even the attorneys. Every single family attorney is a liar. They're a liar because the entire thing of family court is fraud, and they know that, and they go along with it, and they do it because they're liars. Corruption, dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. Well, hey, we got a lot of that stuff going on here. So let's see what else was here. Okay, so this is just some other stuff there. All right. So ultimately, what's going on here is a lot of fraud, and how they're sucking in federal funds at the expense of families. And they're doing it in essence by filing in fraudulent claims and false affidavits. I'm sure they've probably done this in so many cases, and I know that they're only using pickup orders in every single case. I bet you for the past 50 years, they haven't even been using warrants to take children. They've been breaking people's violations for 50 years probably. I bet it. Because I'm looking at all the stuff in our case. I had to become wise with their laws to fight for our son and to dive into the mind of these people so that I could better understand them. And ultimately, I found out that court is for them. It's not for us. It's not for the true children of God. It's not for us. It's for them. It's very manipulative, calculative. And it absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. And if anything's going to happen right, it's going to happen out of court. The more that we keep using court and federal courts to do things for us, the more that we tell them that we are not able to do things for ourselves. And it's about time for everyone to recognize that. It's about time for us to recognize that we are all spiritual brothers and sisters of the same Creator. You know, we all that tree right there. You know, the tree, the grass. That's all of ours together. You know, the Creator, the same Creator that created you, that created me, gave that to you, to me, to nourish, to take care of, to share, to help one another. And yet we're caught up in a possession-filled environment where everybody's got cars and houses and all these things, and if I go walk over to your car with you or whatever, or somebody else, you know, it becomes the I of me effect, and it's not the we of us anymore with the tree. Now it's the I of me. This is my car, this is my house, this is mine, this is mine, this is I. And it just creates a selfish environment. And this is what we have to learn. We've got to learn this. We've got to understand this. We've got to come together. It's time to make a difference. The tree of knowledge has been open for long enough. It's time to feel the tree of life. It's time to feel the tree of life.